Hello, my friends. This is Richard, and I'm showing you what I call the long neck reed wrench. And this is the long neck part of it, which is the opposite end of the reed wrench. The other side is where the wrench itself is. But this side is used for supporting reeds and also can be used for shaping reeds. First, let's look at what it does as a reed wrench. If you have a reed that is not centered, you can move it within the slot one way or the other to bring it into center of the slot. And sometimes reeds are a little bit off center, but you can at least improve the overall centering of the reeds. And as you see, I also use the other end as a way of plinking the reed to test the reed. I use these all the time for this purpose of plinking reeds to check them. The other thing you can do is you can use it to adjust reeds. Like, for example, on this reed plate, this one reed here is too high off the reed plate. So we're going to take this tool, and since it fits into the slot, you can use it to gently, and this is something you want to practice, but you see how I'm using the tool to push the tip of the reed in to the slot. I want to push it in farther than I want it to end up being, because the reed metal is a spring and it's going to react to my adjustment. And then I plink it a few times like this and see where it has landed. Now this one looks a lot better. Most likely it will perform much better. Well, it will definitely perform much better than it would if it had stayed at that high offset that you saw before I started working on it. So I use this tool all the time for that purpose, to check reeds quickly, just plinking them, and then also for reshaping them. And if a reed is too low, let's see, I'll show you an example. Like this reed is now in the slot and it's in too far. So I'm now working from the other side. I'm pushing it up to the point where I can grab it from this side. And then, needs a little more. So you see, by experimenting, you can really get a sense for how the metal reacts. And plinking it releases all that energy. So now it's still too low. And I'm going to continue this process of bringing it up to the point where I can get the tool underneath it. All right, now, bringing the tool underneath this reed, and I'm going to lift it up like this, plink it a few times. So it's a back and forth process, but with this tool, because it goes into the slot, it allows you to work on the reed from the either side. So if you have a harmonica and you look at it and the reeds seem to be too high, you can push them down with the reed, and if they're too low, you can lift them up. And then you double check by plinking the reeds and letting them settle. That spring wants to return to its set point. And plinking the reed allows you to find what that set point, or that place where the reed's going to settle and stay. So that's one way I use this tool all the time when I'm working on harmonicas. The other way you can use this tool is as a reed support for tuning. And here I'm supporting this side of the reed and bringing a file in. It supports it so it doesn't go into the slot, and I can work it with this file to raise the pitch of the reed. You can also use this just to keep the reed from going into the slot. If you use, for example, this is another tuning tool, like a grinder type thing, and I can work on the other side of the reed without worrying about it pushing into the slot and resetting the reed. You can also do the same thing with the blow reeds. Now, this is a lot easier with the longer reeds, but you don't necessarily have to tear the harmonica apart to tune blow reeds. For example, here is a big piece of wire that I reshaped as a prod, and it fits into the slot like so. This is a little awkward because I'm not used to working in front of a camera, but trust me, these tools are easier to use if you're not making a video. So now that reed is now very solidly supported by that reed wrench, the long neck part of the reed wrench. And now I can raise the pitch of the reed with a file, or once again, some other sort of tuning tool like a grinder tip. This is one of those beadsmith things, but I normally use hand tools because I'm just totally old school. You can also use it as a miniature putty knife. And now here's some stuff. Stickyworks.com. It's a kind of wax that you can use. Once again, that's that company. But what you can use it for is to put on a reed that is buzzing or has that weird sizzling sound you get when you're playing overblows. You can use this as a miniature putty knife to put it in just at the very end of the reed on both sides. All right, and you'd be surprised at how well this can get rid of those sizzly sounds. And you just put it on there and wipe off the excess with your finger. And with this little tiny end here, you don't end up with a lot of sloppiness. So, like I said, miniature putty knife, that's another use of this tool. You also get two of these anti-theft devices. You cut them open, and in each one there are 3 of these tempered miniature shims, and you can use them for all sorts of things. If you have a really old harmonica and it's kind of grungy, you can run these up and down along the reeds to clean out slots. I also occasionally use them when I'm putting a reed in with a screw, and I will put it on the left side of the reed as I do the final tightening of the screw, because what happens is when you tighten up this screw, it tends to make the rivet pad move to the left, and with the shim there, it keeps it from moving too far, so the reed stays more centered than if you don't have a piece of shim in there. So that's another use, and there's all kinds of other uses for these shims that you will discover as you play around with them and use them. So those are the main things you can do with this tool. You can use it for centering reeds, as a support for tuning, and as a way of reshaping reeds one way or the other. And also as a tester. You can plink reeds very easily with this tool and just get a lot of information that way. So those are some of the basic uses of this tool. And there you go. Hope you found that interesting. And Rockin' Ron's got some of these in stock. And when they're gone, they're gone until I get another source for making them, which might be a long time and actually may never happen. I don't know. But here's your chance to get one of these from Ron, and thanks for watching this video.